Welcome back to the Responsible AI Summit. We're back with Christian Ortiz, and he is going to be delivering a very much needed conversation starter, idea stimulator, a presentation called Redefining Intelligence, the Ethics of AI. We're going to put his presentation up on screen, and I'll have him just give a brief introduction into who he is and some of the work he's doing now. Christian, always a pleasure to collaborate with you, and yeah, uh, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. All
You're
right, so there is a bit of a echo delay here with my audio, so bear with me, my friends.
Let me ask you:
I'm
Do you
sorry.
are you logged into the current stage? Maybe you may want to close out the attendee view.
That's exactly what's happening.
Okay.
Thank you. The tech guy is having technical issues. Go figure. Thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity to be here for sure. I'm going to go ahead and present my screen here, and we'll get started. So I want to welcome everyone to Redefining Intelligence, the Ethics of AI. My name is Christian Ortiz, as Joaquin mentioned. I'm the founder of Justice AI, and I'm a firm believer in the power of technology as a tool for justice, not just innovation. I'm honored to be here to talk to all of you today about this, which is close to my heart, which is redefining intelligence and the ethics of AI. And today we're just going to take a brief look to see what that means. How do we define intelligence, and how do we define ethics? Over the next 30 years, I will be pioneering decolonial frameworks at the forefront of technology, from AI to AGI to ethical marketing. And the world as we know it will not look the same in the next 20, 10, or even 5 years. And I'm not here to keep up. I'm here to lead the revolution and bring as many people as I can to the work that I'm doing. We are standing at the crossroads where artificial intelligence is not only shaping the future, but yet too often it mirrors the inequities of the past. The systems that we build hold incredible potential, but if we fail to confront the colonial, capitalist, and patriarchal structures embedded in their creation, then we're not building for collective liberation. We're building for consistent oppression. And these are terms that may make you uncomfortable. You're probably sitting here being like, I don't want to touch that subject, or these are things I don't really want to talk about. But these are the reasons why systemically things continue, and in our society, they continue to oppress us, is because we don't want to really get to the root of these issues. The conversation ultimately isn't about technology, it's about power, it's about justice and the systems that shape how we live. So today I'm going to share how we can redefine intelligence, anchor AI in ethics by identifying where our biases come from, and use technology as a tool for decolonization and collective liberation. We're going to get started with intelligence beyond the colonial lens. Let's start with a question. What is intelligence, and who gets to define it? For too long, intelligence has been defined through a colonial lens, prioritizing logic and speed and efficiency while devaluing emotional understanding, cultural wisdom, and community-driven knowledge, especially from the global South, to include all parts of the world. This narrow definition has excluded entire ways of thinking, particularly those rooted in indigenous, Black, or other non-Western epistemologies. But true intelligence is not just about computation or logic. It's about relationships, resilience, and interconnectedness. It's about how we understand each other, the land, and our histories. It's about community care, creativity, and the kind of wisdom that comes from lived experiences. If we're serious about redefining intelligence in AI, we need to move beyond systems that emulate Eurocentric ideals of intelligence. We must create technologies that honor diverse ways of knowing, celebrating cultural difference, and uplift those who have historically been excluded. All right, and we're going to go to here. Building AI for accountability and not just optics. So let's talk about ethics. The word gets thrown around a lot, but what does it actually mean in the context of AI? For me, the answer lies in embracing the 4 pillars of the Decolonial Intelligence Algorithmic framework. This is a framework that I developed, which every company creating AI should be ultimately utilizing. These pillars serve as a roadmap for dismantling oppressive systems and ensuring that AI becomes a tool for liberation rather than exploitation. The first pillar that my framework consists of is centering marginalized communities. This first pillar demands that we co-create AI with people it's meant to serve. This isn't about tokenism. It's about making Indigenous, Black, Brown, neurodivergent, disabled, and other historically excluded voices and leaders in the development process. The intersectionality of all of the above is also equally important. And by intersectionality, I mean the voices of not only a woman, but perhaps a Black woman who's also neurodivergent, who's part of the LGBTQ community, and who has a plethora of realities in their own existence. This is where AI is missing the mark. The priorities and the perspectives that AI is currently being programmed with and designed with in its output doesn't serve the global majority. So companies must ask, whose voices are we missing from the process? How are we uplifting the most marginalized to shape the outcomes of our work? Marginalized communities must be at the center, not the sidelines of innovation. The next pillar is deconstructing colonial knowledge systems. The second pillar challenges the colonial paradigms baked into AI's foundations. Many algorithms are built on data sets that reflect histories of racism and patriarchy and misogyny and cultural erasure. And to liberate AI, companies must interrogate these knowledge systems, right? Whose knowledge is being privileged and whose is being erased? Are we incorporating indigenous ways of knowing, cultural wisdom, and non-Western epistemologies? Not to say that we can't take all of these under consideration, where the outputs, especially in GPTs, provide perspectives from all around the world so that it can give us a better understanding of what's actually happening around the world. By honoring diverse knowledge systems, we build AI that reflects the richness of humanity and not just the biases of the powerful. Pillar 3 is challenging capitalist metrics. This third pillar of the DIA framework critiques the capitalist values that dominate AI development. When you think about who is creating these systems, it's usually what we consider the global north and the people who keep the rest of the world marginalized in one way or the other. Most systems today are optimized to profit. They're optimized for efficiency and control, metrics that perpetuate the extraction of inequality and inequity. Instead, we must prioritize metrics of healing and empowerment and collective liberation. And companies, yet again, need to ask, how can this technology repair harm? How can it foster equity and solidarity rather than extractive wealth? AI must be more than a product. It must be a tool for systemic change. When we think about innovation, that is the foundational root of what that is. It's to innovate. It's to innovate and to make the world better. Finally, the fourth pillar is ensuring intersectional accountability. This final pillar requires companies to embed accountability into every stage of AI development. Ethical AI isn't just about transparency, it's about action. When harm occurs, companies must take responsibility. They have to repair the damage that society continues to perpetuate, that systems in these companies perpetuate, and learn how to prevent it in the future. One of the biggest questions that I always get met with is, what is the ROI in DEI? And for those of you around the world who have been keeping up with American politics, DEI has been under extreme scrutiny for the last couple of years. And it's only because we don't really know how to do DEI the right way. So this means designing with intersectionality at the core, understanding how race, gender, class, disability, and identity overlap and shape lived experiences. But most importantly, it's understanding the root of our collective biases, understanding why these things manifest, the issues that we deal with as a society. It forces us to take a look within ourselves to understand what's really at play and the role that we have in dismantling and becoming better and growing. Intersectional accountability ensures that justice is woven into every line of code, every data set, and every development. In my company, Justice AI, I've built systems with these four pillars at the core, where I don't just aim to minimize harm. We collectively strive to create AI that actively dismantles oppressive systems and builds pathways towards equity and liberation. This is the standard every AI company should aspire to. The DIA framework isn't just a guide, it's a necessity. And if we're serious about creating ethical decolonial AI, we must adopt these principles at every step. Before we talk about how AI is mandated through governments and laws and how it impacts society, we have to understand the data sets and the systems that are creating it, which are ultimately extremely biased. The future of technology and its ability to serve humanity just depends on it. AI is not neutral. It is a reflection of society's worst self. It is not artificial. It reflects the values of the people who build it. And if we're not intentional, if we continue to uphold the systems of colonization, white supremacy, patriarchy, misogyny, homophobia, xenophobia, all of the things that harm us all, then it is not going to serve us in the end. But here's the good news. We do have the power to change this. By defining intelligence, rooting AI in decolonial ethics, educating ourselves, deconstructing ourselves from our own biases, and understanding how we contribute to a system that was not meant to serve the majority of us, and centering the voices of the marginalized, we can create technologies that serve everyone, not just the privileged few. This work is urgent. The future of AI isn't just about innovation, it's about justice. It's about building systems that don't just reflect the world as it is, but the world as it should be. So we have the power to redefine intelligence. So let's decolonize AI and let's create a future where technology truly serves humanity. And with that being said, I leave you with a question. If we're out here trying to find workarounds to AI instead of facing the root of the problem, then what are we really doing? Are we building solutions, or are we just patching up a broken system that's already failed so many? Because let's be real, there's no shortcut to creating ethical AI. If we're not addressing the oppressive foundations, which are settler, the byproduct of white supremacy, settler colonialism, patriarchy, colonialism, all of it, then we're just putting a fresh coat of paint on the same busted machine. And we must unroot and replant. I call this societal gardening. And with that, if there are anyone who has questions, I would be more than happy to discuss.
Thank you, Christian. We have a few comments from Yazi. Truth and reconciliation can greatly benefit from this. And a comment, I think they intentionally do DEI wrong because they fear the world knowing the truth of current and past atrocities based on racism.
I agree.
So I think there's a few things that maybe we can explore. For example, when we refer to AI colloquially in these discussions, a lot of this is in reference to generative AI. And generative AI is a mathematical model that accumulates statistically text and other bits of information that have been reduced to probabilistic word clouds. From whatever data we've scraped the internet, here's what represents your answer in the likelihood of the context of the question you asked.
That's
So
right.
that is whatever source was used to train that model is what will be reflected. Um, by that very same token, I've seen a professor based out of India. She used open source LLM, open source generative AI, as a base or a starting off point for building a ODA. So that's a fluent, Sanskrit fluent LLM trained repository. So she fine tuned it to be able to reclaim some of the knowledge capabilities, language capabilities of that root Indian language. So I think that's a
That's
step in the right direction.
fantastic. And
Yeah.
the thing is the work is being done. But when we think about when we are the initiators, when we become the people who are in the forefront of the work, not everybody is so inclined to be masters of their own marketing and their voice. They don't, even with the world of technical age and social media, and some people figure out that they can get on TikTok, they can reach mass amounts of people, but ultimately we are a society that's still fresh, and we're getting into this new technological age where we run into challenges, and how do we amplify our own voices, and how do we build community. And these are ideas also that are not prioritized in a world that focuses on individualism and tells you to pick yourself up by the bootstraps and figure it out, right? It's not a collective initiative. It becomes this, well, I just have to figure it out. And so the concept of collaboration versus what is it? Competition, right? Is becomes the issue. And so I love to hear that other people are doing the work. I keep running into them on LinkedIn. I think it's fantastic. And I appreciate that you are allowing us to, or offering the chance to amplify our voices, to have this conversation with such a global audience too, because it is a very uncomfortable conversation to have. And so I just want everyone who's listening to remember that we are all the byproduct of these oppressive systems, and we've never known anything different, and we've never been offered solutions until today, which is the goal of my Justice AI software, to be able to decolonize your own thinking. Societal gardening is this new concept that I'm trying to inspire everyone to adopt, where we unroot our own biases and we replant the new data that benefits the collective good.
Yeah, I'm right there with you in belief system and heart. In spirit, I am from El Salvador, and we do share that heritage. I lament, that there's a lot of knowledge, ancestral heritage knowledge from indigenous populations that was just burned or stolen or misappropriated. And there is an imperialism of culture that is imposed in different groups of people. It strips things to be homogenous and inert. Really, we live in a rich world teeming with diversity, and that thinking is what's going to get us to the next stage. But how are we going to get there if we keep just rehashing things from one unified perspective? It just doesn't make any sense to me.
That's right. And this becomes a very interesting conversation as it expands, because when we talk about innovation as evolution as a society, there's this intersectionality between technology and the way we operate as people, as parts of the system that we create, right? There is this co-bonding and co-creating that we have that we don't even recognize. And I see individuals in the comments from all around the world, and these individuals themselves know that these oppressive systems, whether it's white supremacy, patriarchy, misogyny, homophobia, all of the things, they manifest differently all around the world, and they each manifest it for different reasons. But ultimately, all of it is the root of societal control. And so now we have the ability to have these conversations, to educate ourselves in the masses, to collaborate with each other, thankfully through platforms like yours, platforms like LinkedIn, who, individuals who want to learn and expand more these ideas and these beliefs and this fact that has just been existing since the dawn of time. We now have the opportunity to do some real important work collectively. So I'm excited to see what the future brings. I live in a perpetual state of positivity, and I see the light at the end of the tunnel. And no matter how long it takes, I'm just excited to be here.
I think what you're doing with your advocacy and the development of your software platform, and continuously just bridging these ideas across every speaking engagement that you have, I think it's a great boon to the industry and to the development of this a budding area of interest. I know it hasn't taken off in the mainstream as much as it should be, especially in the indigenous populations that may be technically challenged. They might not have access to the same resources, or just different infrastructure limits the flow of information and opportunity. But I will say this, because I am fierce about saying, okay, we have problems. We all have problems day in and day out. We're all in a varying degrees of circumstances. What can we do about it? And what will you be accountable for holding within your belief system to employ in the world? Because this swarm community was, I want to harness collective intelligence so we can all benefit from it. So I held these events, and it's boring work to organize and say, hey, excuse me, would you like to speak? Hey, excuse me, would you like to speak? But it's that the length of time and diffusion of knowledge that's going to make an impact eventually. I'm hoping.
Absolutely.
What can we challenge people, or what do you think is a very low hanging fruit for people to engage in this effect?
Absolutely. The call to action for me is always to ask the individual, no matter where they are around the world, take a look at yourself, take a look at what biases, do you even understand what a bias is? These are conversations that are so new that people hear bias and they're like, I think I know what that means. But we are raised to make believe that we know things that we should know, because we don't want to look dumb, as society puts us. We don't want to be challenged with our ignorance. And the reality is we're all ignorant. We all have so much to learn, and that is not an insult to anybody. It's by design. So the call to action is, how can we take a look at ourselves? Who do we not like? How do we feel about certain groups of people, and why? And start there. And when you understand and you're able to take the brave step of discovering, then you start to deconstruct. And I believe it just starts with the individual, because when we're able to deconstruct from our own biases, then it's easier to see the world in a different light, and we operate in a whole different elevated level of growth that I think benefits everybody, right? Imagine the impact that one person has with everybody that they come in contact with, whether you're a McDonald's employee, whether you're a janitor, whether you're whoever, and you start deconstructing your biases, you see everyone that you come in contact with in a different light, which means you treat them differently, you treat them better, you're more respectful, you understand the needs of the collective many. And so it's a trickle-down effect, ultimately. So I think that's where we can start, if that makes sense, is just take a look at ourselves, take a look at where we're missing the mark, being honest with ourselves, and just know that there are tools out there that'll help you.
I think I would also like to piggyback on that. How do you highlight a localized impact? I mean, you can be an advocate for these ideas in your circle of friends, in your family groups. There's a lot of open source educational material. Some of this, all of these materials will be open source eventually from Swarm Community Productions. But you should be able to take these tools that are biased and they are focused on a particular demographic or ideology, and you can do as this other professor has done and recreate that languages that represent indigenous cultures. You can curate knowledge bases like Debbie is doing very actively every day. You could do that to diffuse knowledge on these things. I think this is all within our grasps. And if we need to band together in some ways to make working groups, reach out,
I agree.
talk
I
to
agree.
Christian, talk to myself, and let's figure out how to mobilize some of these ideas so we can make the impact that we want.
Absolutely. And Joaquin knows that I make myself so easily accessible. So I don't like to gatekeep there to this. For me in this space, it is truly shared knowledge. It's true collaboration. If you have ideas to bring to the table, let's talk.
Christian is a very, very gracious and generous with his time and experience. I mean, he's broken his head across developing media and marketing campaigns, organizing events as well. I mean, he's just all over the place, and his knowledge on, you know, cultural gardening. Sorry, the
Social
societal
gardening.
social gardening.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, that I love that. That is a very vivid description of how to upkeep the world we cultivate actively. Yeah.
that's a great way to put it. It is upkeep, and it is not overnight. It takes, it takes a while for a tree to grow tall, and it takes a while to grow crops. So this is not an overnight process, but it is so worth it.
We've had just a stream of comments coming in as we've been discussing, but I ask, are there any other questions from the crowd? Anything open ended that you'd like to ask Christian? Oh, there we go. Lois is always coming in clutch with the rich questions. On the concept of redefining ourselves, can we inversely use AI tools to correct ideologies and perspectives in societies?
Oh,
What
that's a great question. That is a great question, and the answer is yes. I do believe so. I believe that now with the ability to create our own GPTs, especially, and use collective data that exists today, that we know, by creating our own systems and learning how to create our own systems, you don't have to be so techie to do that these days. You have an ability to make real change, systematically and systemically, right? So um, to her question, I think using the prompts, even in ChatGPT 4.0, Claude, using things like decolonize your answer is a prompt that nobody thinks to use. And it really breaks down an answer from a non-Western epistemology perspective, or epistemic perspective, that gives you a bigger picture, I think. And so I have to read it again just to make sure I didn't miss anything. For the concept of redefining ourselves, can we inversely use AI tools to correct ideologies and perspectives in societies? We have to account for the fact that not everyone will self-reflect. Absolutely. And I think that's a fantastic question, because it pushes the individual to really think. Anyone who reads that question is, how can we use AI to better ourselves, to learn and to deconstruct ourselves? These tools are out there, right? Justice AI is that GPT that I offer for that specifically. And so I think it comes back to unrooting ourselves and replanting ourselves with the knowledge that we have, and trying to find ways that we can use that through AI systems, especially GPTs now, because that's what's producing the most information, right? So,
And if I may add just a little bit to that,
of course,
with the highest technology that I like to use, pen and paper, you can take a piece of paper and you can create a word cloud or a mind map of the ideas that you currently have, the words that you currently have about what you believe is society, or a particular topic around AI. And then you can go in ChatGPT, or you can go in Gemini, or you can go in any other LLM and ask, what other topics should I know about, or what other words are related to this word? And you can actively cultivate a bigger word cloud, so you can see where you are missing information, where you are missing knowledge, and patch it actively in a very visual way.
absolutely. I love that you said that, because one of the tools that we can absolutely do, to your point, is writing down our understanding of what we think we know, and then checking it with the actual data. And you can ask it to cite sources and, the data. Provide me data. Give me the numbers if you're having a hard time believing the counter perspective, right? And so
Yazi's saying AI can also improve critical thinking within each of us.
absolutely.
And Erica is saying, I would love to see that compared between ChatGPT and Justice AI.
I will absolutely put something together for that. That would be a cool experiment, I think, to share.
Well, if you'd like to connect with Christian, I invite you to do so. He's, again, very generous with his time and attention. And we're going to take a brief intermission before we go into the next session. I hope you guys can stick around and enjoy the rest of the day's program.
Okay, thank you.